Hey guys, I'm Tim Langston with Red Dog Bushcraft, and today I thought we'd take a quick look at the Pathfinder Knife Shop's Black Bear. A nice traditional knife that I think you're going to enjoy. Let's take a look at some of the specs. I've been using the Black Bear as a companion to my Grizzly. When I'm outside, this really seems to make a really nice pair. This for camp, and this is my belt knife, but the Black Bear will hold up on its own for any of your outdoor adventures. We're talking about 1/8 of an inch thick 1095 high carbon steel with a heat treat that is just spot on perfect. The knife itself is 9 inches in overall length, and we're talking about a 4.5 inch blade here in a Scandinavian grind, walnut scales. Comes in at 6.2 ounces, and I went with a traditional Bushcraft style sheath. The fit and finish is perfect for this knife. Just a simple fold over, nice amount of knife left hanging out of that sheath. Just a good, well built, high quality sheath, very affordable, and a good match for this particular knife. The fit and finish on the walnut scales is just, it's fantastic. It's like a piece of furniture. No any drag or anything over top of the pins or the lanyard hole. I mean, they're just as smooth as you can be. The grind lines are, I mean, you would think it was put in a jig, and I mean, for handmade, you can't get any better than this. It's just spot on, and the 90-degree spine is good and sharp, works extremely well for scraping. Now, you know that I'm not a big fan of batoning knives to begin with, and something of this size, really not. This is more of my camp style knife that I pair to go along with my larger belt knife, but it is substantial enough that I would not hesitate in using this as my belt knife, even at 4.5 inches. Now, I'll baton this a little bit just so that we can test the edge retention, but this is not the first time I've done this, and I can tell you the edge retention has been just fine. In 1/8 of an inch, we still have enough meat in the steel that when we set this knife, you can see that, well, you can't on that side. Let me baton through that and we'll try it from the other side. Or maybe you can see it from here. See the way that wood is opening up? So once we've done our penetration into the wood and we're about halfway up on that Scandinavian grind, the edge is not actually receiving any damage at all. And in 1/8 of an inch, we still have enough meat there that we're able to split this poplar open. And this is a nice piece of poplar that's got some knots and such in it, but something that might be realistic that you would be utilizing if you were trying to get to the inner dry material and you were looking for an emergency fire, or trying to find some firewood that was still dry in a rainy environment, and you want to see some edge retention right where I was batoning that. Now, right where I was sticking that cutting edge, look at how fine of a shavings I can pull off with this knife. Now, just like the Grizzly, the learning curve on how much wood or what angle I need to hold the Scandinavian grind to remove the amount of wood that I want to, the learning curve there, it was very slack. I mean, it didn't take much at all for my hands to start utilizing this knife. And if you want to pull off more substantial, I mean, it will do that too. I mean, it will really get in there and hog that wood off if you want it to. So as far as the grind angles, we're right on target with where we should be with this thickness of steel. Now let's talk just a minute about the blade shape itself. just like the Grizzly, they've come in here and they've cut this tip off to give you more of a tip. But they have not tapered the top edge like you would see on a traditional Bowie style knife or clip point. They've left the full meat of the metal on here, which increases the strength of your tip. And you can look at the tip of this knife and see how much steel is left in it. So when it comes to pushing or penetrating with this knife, you still have a lot of strength there. But yet when you start talking about skinning and you want to come in here, you still have this flat area that can rest on the meat, the roundness here, this radius that will lift that hide up, and as the knife passes through, once you're set on that meat, you push down on the scales or the handle just a little bit so that the point doesn't dig into the meat, and it lifts it up and separates that skin and opens that carcass right up. And I've got some video of that where I've used both the Grizzly and the Black Bear processing a couple of deer, and I'll show you some shots of that. Okay, today we have two knives that we're going to process our deer with, and these knives I thought would make a great companion set for hunting. And we have the Black Bear by Pathfinder Knife Shop, and also the Grizzly from the Pathfinder Knife Shop. So the real test of these knives, of carrying them out on a hunt, is to find out how they would process up game. So we have a nice deer here today, and I'll throw in a couple of shots of us using these knives, and we'll see exactly how they perform. Okay, both tenderloins removed. The Grizzly did extremely well, especially for a knife of that size, just handled itself very well. The Black Bear did an excellent job, as good as any camp knife that I've ever used processing out my tenderloin like that. So we've got two very usable blades here as far as butchering your game. To add to the versatility of a knife, having that 90-degree spine, which can save on your cutting edge if you have to do some fine scraping, and we do that quite a bit in the eastern woodlands, especially here in eastern part of Virginia, because fat wood is everywhere, and we like to take our sticks of fat wood. We find it out all over the place in this area, and we process those sticks down into finer sticks like I'm working with here. And then we take the back of that 90-degree spine and create these, well, the technical term we use in the school is little fuzzies. And with that, we have the best natural fire starter, fire tender that we have in our area. I'm going to take those and pile them up just like that. And another reason we like that 90-degree spine is if we lost our scraper for our ferro rod and we needed to create our fire, we don't want to have to run around and try to find a rock or a piece of glass or some other scraper. We want to be able to use the back of that knife to remove enough material to start this fat wood on fire. And there we have that, one strike. The less times you have to work on this ferro rod to get a fire started, the longer it's going to last. I'm all about that. So versatility in that 90-degree spine. Okay, so another piece of the versatility puzzle I like to look for in my knives, especially in 1095. If the heat treat is right, we can use that knife to replace our steel in our flint and steel fires. So let's say you're out there and you have to start your first fire in a primitive method. If you can make char in your container or other methods, and we can use our knife utilizing a good sharp rock somewhere that we find while we're out there, and we can do our flint and steel fires. That's going to add to the versatility of our kit. So let's give that a try. And there we have it. There we go. Flint and steel with our camp knife. Like I said, she'd make a good belt knife. she'll hold herself up in her own right also. So I keep talking about a camp knife, and when I think about camping, spending time in the outdoors, there's not a whole lot I like to do more than cook when I'm out there. And a good camp knife to me has to be able to process up my dinner. And if my camp knife, the one that I can use for most all of my tasks, can also do some nice clean cuts so that when I get ready to prepare my meals, I have something to cut up my vegetables and my bacon, in this case some good hog jowl, and I can get good, clean, even cuts like that. That's what I'm talking about in a good quality camp knife. So where do I see the Black Bear fitting into my arsenal of knives? Well, it sure made a great companion for the grizzly. But you know what? This knife can hold its own. As far as a camp knife, a belt knife, its overall profile and shape, the quality, fit, and finish, we've got a really good winner here from the Pathfinder Knife Shop. I hope you enjoyed this quick review. I certainly enjoyed bringing it to you. I'm Tim Langston with Red Dog Bushcraft, home of global safety and survival. Until next time, God bless.